Welcome to another episode of the Pennock Knockdown, a podcast for unpacking key strategies and tactics for digital marketing leaders. Today, I'm joined by our very own Cassidy Mace. Cassidy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you, Nikki.
So Cassidy, you have a pretty lengthy experience across digital marketing overall. You've worked with entertainment brands, sports brands, you've worked with local businesses, I think businesses that are franchised, and now at Pennock, you are account managing and leading a handful of strategies for beauty, lifestyle, and some med spa clients. So really excited to unpack some of your key insights today. We like to start with a softball and ask about any beauty products that you've recently discovered and are trying or are excited to try.
Off the top of my head, one of them I'm most excited about is Mob Beauty. I'm typically pretty low-key, like drugstore girl, but finding Mob, they're super affordable. You can make like a whole customizable palette with like exactly what you want. So it's not like a palette where you use like one or two colors, which has been really nice for, I like to travel, like do just a little personal item or whatever, and you can like slip it in. So that's been really nice for me, a nice alternative to just like running to Target. And you feel a little bit better about it because it's, a small business, it's clean, definitely just makes you feel a little bit better about it.
And to interject quickly, because you're the second guest who's brought up Mob Beauty as one of their favorite new beauty brands. So it's exciting to hear that Mob is creating more of an awareness play for themselves, and people know of them a lot better than they did in the past.
Yeah, definitely. It's been fun to see some of like the organic things that have come through for them. They've had some like really cool, random reviews from people who just found I think especially their foundation, the shade range is really appealing to a lot of people. And I really like the foundation just for the formula too. So that's really nice. And then in the skincare lane, I'm really excited. I started using tretinoin because I'm turning 30 this year. So hopefully that will make a good difference for me.
Lovely. Awesome. Nothing like a good anti-aging product, right?
Yeah, hopefully it works.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing some of your favorites at the moment. We at the Pennock Knockdown aim to really figure out playbooks and recipes for success within the digital space. And I know we already talked about some of the details of your role here with us at Pennock, but I'd love to have you spend a couple minutes walking through strategies you've launched that have either excelled or flopped and what you think kind of put them in that light or that position.
I used to work in internal marketing, just with like one company at a time. But I think what's been really interesting about agency work is that I get to work with a lot of different brands, and they all kind of come with their unique challenges and opportunities. And one of those opportunities actually happened here at Pennock. I had a client who had very extreme fluctuations in performance when they had organic launches or promos going on, something I had never really seen before, where without specific creative related to the launch or promo, in their paid just from the organic piece, we would see up to like a 27x ROAS. So that was something very, very new for me and very cool. But really the question there on our side of things was, okay, well, what do we do with that? How do we need to change our strategy to match that when that's something that is not very typical for a lot of clients and is something that's really great to see. So with that, we made an adjustment to our strategy to really spend higher on those days where they're seeing that really big launch, ramping up to that slowly so we're not sending anything back into learning, and, really just maximize that profitability when they're having those really unique moments. On the flip side of that, it came with kind of a unique challenge of proving the benefit of paid media to that client, because if they're having these really amazing, great organic moments and they're going to have that regardless, why are they putting money behind it? So that came on the other side of things, just really talking to them, making sure that we had a really, really consistent performance on the days when that wasn't happening. So in diving into that deeper, we've actually been able to maintain a 4x ROAS on days where that's not happening. So, I like to tell them, if you never ran another promo, if you never had another product launch again, you would still have a 4x ROAS from paid. So it really is a good place for your money to be, but really such a unique strategy that we had to really fly with and figure out in real time, and has been really helpful with learning other clients how we can really be super fluid and adapt to their individual businesses.
And I know we've, as an agency with so many clients over the years, have had others that have similar success rates with launches or collection drops. And so figuring out the right mix client by client is something that is really not a one size fits all. Like another example of a client we have is on their collection launch days, we usually spend minimally, let their email program and like kind of their VIP best customer program be what generates the sales those days. And then day 2 of the new collection drop is where we really ramp up paid media. But it's interesting because there's, as you mentioned, so many different ways to do this. And then, other brands that don't have the launches and don't have the promos, we kind of find ourselves in typically spending the average same amount day over day, unless we see trends like weekends do better or worse. And then we're doing like bid adjustments systematically for things like that. So really crazy. You're talking about a 27x ROAS on the days of product launches in promos. And that's
yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And it was just overall really in a generic learning place for me of like leaning into what works for you and using that to help lift other parts of your business. So we've used paid to help grow their email and help with, boosting organic, help get them over into TikTok. So it's been really nice to be able to help build up other parts of their business and also use that for other clients who maybe don't have a lot built up in those areas. Just figuring out how you can lean into what works and also help that create better opportunities in other marketing channels.
And I know, we've recently wrapped seasonal timeframes with Black Friday, Cyber Monday behind us. Was there anything different about what you had planned versus what came through would be my first question.
Saw anything super different from what I was expecting. Definitely our clients with really clear messaging, really strong promo assets, a really good offer, saw really, really strong results. I don't think there was anything that was a super big surprise there. Obviously, urgency messaging really, really shown, and that's shown to be a really great messaging for most of our past promos, so nothing super surprising there.
I think in looking at some of the other accounts we're on that you're maybe not involved with, and some of just reading the literature out there, is image assets worked better than expected. So just like those static text overlay, like huge takeover assets, I think it was just like this moment of relief from the craziness that becomes like video digital marketing. And then the second thing is, I personally didn't see a ton of evergreen assets. Like I don't think anything I was served over Thanksgiving to even like Giving Tuesday was evergreen content. It was all promo. And I know in years past, and I think we did this for a handful of clients too, keeping live evergreen was part of the equation and part of like the best practice. So it'll be interesting to see what we do next year, because I think, as we plan 2025 Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like really what happened this year has little impact, since so much is going to have changed in the digital landscape overall by then.
Sure. I definitely kept running business as usual, but again, with my clients, I've seen that their business as usual sees a automatic lift during promo times because they have really strong landing pages with promotional messaging. So that would be probably what I'm thinking about next year, is what does the website look like? Where is that messaging elsewhere? Does it make sense to continue running business as usual because that messaging is very clear and available?
What would you say is the hardest topic with clients right now? And like how are you dealing with that? What's on brands' mind?
Honestly, I think we've talked about this quite a bit internally, is attribution. Definitely speaking to my clients about the value of paid ads, again, kind of circling back to that, and where it's maybe not being attributed correctly in all platforms. So as we've discovered, and I'm sure a lot of marketing agencies have discovered, GA4 likes to really underrepresent the amount of revenue coming from Meta. It obviously attributes a lot more to Google ads. So figuring out how to accurately showcase that to our clients, let them know that Meta really is a strong place to be. Same with TikTok or Pinterest or LinkedIn, anywhere we're running ads besides Google. If you're using GA4 as kind of your lighthouse of this is where everything is being attributed to, you need to kind of have a tough conversation about, it's going to look different in platform versus GA4, and giving them a number that they can trust is something that is accurate to what is really impacting their business, and focusing on top line I think has been one of the biggest, challenges and conversations I've been having with clients recently.
We have talked about that a lot internally. What about utilizing Shopify as the source of truth? How are you finding that data in comparison to GA4 versus?
I found it kind of in that middle ground. So I definitely wouldn't say that I would want to use it, at least for the clients that I've been working on this with. I still don't think I would use that as, my number one source of truth, but I think it's a little bit better than GA4. Definitely a good place to come. And actually what I use Shopify more for is talking about their other channels. So, how's your email doing? How are those things doing as it relates to paid in those conversations? But as far as how it's attributing to Meta, I'm still seeing that it's so vastly different from the in platform that it's hard to tell, what can you promise is the correct number in that situation.
That's probably where marketing efficiency ratio, MER, comes into play, because it is a catch-all for assessing how the overall business is doing. Is that something that the clients seem to respond to, or is it still a little like foreign?
The approaches we really take to talk about that when attribution is in kind of this cloudy area is, yes, definitely the MER, the impact on the overall business. How's your top line doing? How are we doing, month over month, year over year? Also specifically talking about Meta, because that is the one that somehow is always attributed, not perfectly, is talking about new versus returning customers. So we've been lucky and happy to see that most of our clients are seeing, 75, 80, 90% of their customers purchasing through Meta are new customers. So that obviously is a great piece to bring to those conversations. And then again, specifically with this client, the attribution client is also the one that has seen really strong launch and promo, talking about what does it look like on days where everything's normal, everything's relaxed. Like, what are we still seeing? We also, have played around with different attribution windows that, while it makes sense to us, I think is sometimes something clients don't respond to quite as much. So that's why we've made the shift to kind of talk about a few of these other metrics to show the overall benefit of being on Meta.
Perfect. And I know Meta and Google now allow you to look at like new customer revenue and ROAS or CAC versus total customers. So I feel like there will be enhancements coming platform side that continue to make the case for just reporting platform data. Awesome. So at an agency, we're always kind of thinking about what our buyers are looking for in vendors in general. And our buyers would be the CMOs or VPs at brand side who are looking for partners like Pennock to run paid, other programs like email, organic social, etc. What do you think these service buyers are looking for their vendors in 2025?
Yeah, definitely. I think there has been quite a bit of change in the time I've been in marketing. I mean, I know I haven't been in marketing as long as some people, but even in the last 5 years, I've seen a really big shift in what people are looking for. I think at this point, it's not enough to meet goals, to hit your ROAS, to, meet expectations. You really need to be driving the strategy and the next steps for the clients beyond what your kind of quote unquote contracted business is. So with that, we've been really lucky. We have some really amazing clients and great partners where they've allowed us to, kind of step into different areas and give them advice and even send them references to maybe other agencies if it's something that we're not particularly in-house with, but definitely digging into their landing pages, looking at their email, seeing how everything is being impacted overall, as well as just driving overall long-term marketing strategy versus month over month. So something that's been a big project for us internally with all the account managers is building out 2025 calendars, looking at, okay, here are the promos we've seen worked in the past. Here's what we would recommend. Here are the budgets we're recommending, not just saying, okay, we spent $10,000 last month, so let's spend $10,000 this month. Really being strategic and again, kind of making sure we're putting money where it makes the most sense. And, I always like to think of it as investing as if it's your own money. You want to make sure you're getting the most out of it. So I think that's really what we've been seeing from clients. And even, before I came over to Pennock, something that I was seeing start to happen. And definitely something we're focusing on internally to make sure that we are on top of as clients are having that raised expectation for agencies.
Yeah. And so in summary, back to like the raised expectation is really a strategy that delivers profitability, not just top line or something other like the saying we hit our ROAS KPI or
Yeah,
whatever the goal is. Okay. Love
definitely.
that. Yeah, and I know Cassidy personally has done a huge lift in terms of analyzing and auditing email flows for brands, landing page recommendations and experiences to kind of make sure the conversion rates in other channels are working well for brands. So I think that's definitely a value add that a lot of partners might not offer, and a lot of brands probably wouldn't expect from a marketing agency that's primarily paid media and SEO.
I think there's a lot of opportunities, and our whole team is really strong at, if you find something that could use improvement, either taking that on ourselves or really giving them the next steps to address things internally. So even though we are a digital marketing agency, that doesn't mean that our partnership ends at, paid ads.
Right. That's so true. And I feel like we've been giving so many referrals out to a handful of our vetted partners for areas of marketing that complement us. So I do think that the connection is formulating, and brands are knowing that they don't just need paid media to grow their business. They need a lot more than that these days. And speaking of just changes in 2025 in general, what do you think is going to happen for the digital landscape around marketing mixes, even like stacks or technologies, anything that you're keeping your eye on in terms of like leading changes that you think brands should be implementing?
This is more maybe of like a personal hope for, specifically brands I've been lucky enough to work with is I'd really like to see more brands, especially kind of in the early days, VC area, really invest in awareness, work on building up those earned and owned organic channels, spending in awareness on paid. I think what happens a lot of times is people don't see that immediate, return. Obviously, if we're spending fully in conversion, you can see that change in revenue, weeks, days, a month max, versus awareness takes a little bit longer. But, speaking again about the really great organic lift that having strong awareness can give to your paid, to your email, to everything, I think it's such an important, and I'd really love to see more clients and just more businesses in general really invest in building up those channels. Kind of hand in hand with that, obviously, I think everybody talks about it all the time, but more and more brands are going over towards TikTok. TikTok's really starting to get, things put together, creating some really great programs for brands to get involved, get working with partners, start spending in ads. So, and TikTok is a really amazing awareness platform. And that's really where I've seen the strongest or the most strength for my clients on TikTok is through awareness, really low CPMs. I think it's a great place to connect. So that for me, again, really more personal, that I'd like to see people really start to invest there. I know it's easy to just go for the ROAS and go for the conversion, for the revenue right now. But when you're talking about long-term business growth, really investing in those is what's going to build you up over time and just create a much better strategy for you year over year versus relying so heavily on paid.
Well, and I have to ask you, because of the work you're doing at Pennock right now is mainly paid media, what do you think brands are getting wrong? Like, say it's a brand new brand, it's been around for just a couple of months, we're setting up their ads accounts, we're probably spending less than $15K a month on ads. Like, what are brands getting wrong in terms of output or expectations in those early months together of running ads?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really kind of an impatience, and I understand it. Like, I understand you want to see immediate results. And the thing is, like, we can probably get you immediate results, but it's not going to be the best for your business overall. And again, like, we always really try to think of us as a partner for brands. So again, like, I'm constantly recommending, like, let's build up your awareness. Let's get, that top of funnel ready. So that way we can really make a lot more impact at the bottom of funnel versus just running, an ASC campaign to everybody and like, get an okay ROAS, but, so I think it's really just people not willing to give it time. Sometimes maybe just not listening to good advice, as much as I hate to say that. When you hire a digital marketing agency, it's really nice if you trust them as the digital marketing experts and you let them do their jobs and you let them help your business grow. Because at the end of the day, that's all we want. And sometimes it feels like we're all going towards the same goal, but we're fighting about how to get there. So that's definitely something that I sometimes see, especially newer brands that are just kind of like, we need something and we need it now, struggling with, is not giving it the time to really see long-term and sustained growth.
Yeah. And I would say, because creative is so much of the formula these days for ads, I think understanding the trends of creative early on for new assets that have gone live, but also like politely raising our hands and telling clients in advance of an ad going live if we know the creative really just isn't up to snuff and it's not what is getting the response the brand is looking for, because budget can be wasted quite quickly if the assets are weak. And I know we've recently partnered with Motion and we use Best Ever for some creative lifts. So like having more creative real-time insights at our fingertips, I think has really helped elevate the conversation and the results the clients are getting.
Luckily, we've had some really amazing creatives, and honestly, sometimes it's a volume game. I guess the other piece of, brands really early on not giving the opportunity to test, like every brand is a little bit different. We have some brands that really resonate with some creatives, and we're always going to give advice, but you don't know until you see how it connects with your individual audience. So, having a volume of creatives so that we can test different things, not, oh, we've run these in the past, just like, let's reflight these 5 creatives that have done well in the past, allowing us to turn down creatives when they do start to fatigue, having those to come up and fill that space is really helpful. So it definitely takes some time to test, but again, it's going to get you better long-term results.
And there's nothing worse as an ad buyer than watching something fatigue and know you have nothing you can do about it because you're just waiting for that next set of creative to come through. So definitely a painful position for any ad buyer to be in.
But as you pointed out, Motion has been really great in helping us identify opportunities for iterating on strong ads. So, sometimes you don't need an entirely new creative. Maybe we take the concept and we just tweak a couple things, or we take the first 5 seconds of one video and put it with the call to action of another. So another great opportunity, especially with those clients that maybe have a little bit more of a struggle, like generating new content, it's given us opportunity to help fill that gap for them.
In fact, you shared out, I think it was earlier this week with our team, that a test you recently ran and tracked on Motion was around logos in meta ad assets versus no logos. And what we found is like, don't put logos in your brand assets. Like your experience and your ad presence within the platform is already branded. The asset itself doesn't also need the branding. So I think that was a good learning.
So that was one opportunity where, kind of our hypothesis was proven wrong. So we tested not only logo versus no logo, but also a text overlay, just highlighting a USP or, a tagline with that specific thing. And we found what really was resonating with the consumers was just the image. They were really enjoying that, and that's what was getting people to click. That's what was getting people to convert. So even though we recommended the test, like, hey, let's put a logo, let's put the copy on there, what we found is just the images are really what's resonating. But that's good because that can help influence our future recommendations to that client. So it was good to run the test.
Always be testing, right?
Yeah.
All right. My final question for you is really around advice you'd give yourself. So if you were starting all over again in this business, being a marketer, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, that's hard because I'm obviously very happy with where I ended up, and you start to think if you changed anything earlier on. I know I definitely think I maybe would have challenged myself to get into specifically digital earlier on because I was really in like the full marketing mix, organic, running websites, that kind of thing. But again, I think that's what gives me a little extra edge with some of our clients right now, is having that experience. So if I was actually to give myself advice, I'd probably just to say to have a little bit more confidence. I've been so lucky to work with really amazing people, have really, really cool experiences where sometimes, I felt maybe even a little bit out of my depth, but it took me a while to realize that I actually have a good instinct. I know what I'm talking about, and that I can actually be somebody who helps others. I can be that, kind of learning role model to other people, which is really all I've wanted to be in marketing. So I wish I had that confidence a little bit earlier to just trust myself and go with my gut. And definitely feedback I got earlier in my career was just not being fully confident in what I was saying, even when I knew what I was talking about. So definitely wish I would have gotten that down a little bit faster.
That's really good advice. Thank you for sharing. Cassidy, it was great having you on today's episode. I assume we'll be seeing more of you in the future as we learn about more tips and tricks as quarters pass and algorithms change and technologies change. So looking forward to future moments with you. As we wrap, is there any way people should be getting in touch with you if they want to learn more or chat with you about today's topics?
I think the best way would be through Pennock's website. I think I'm on there. I think all my contact info is on there. If not, just submit a little thing, DM. It'll get to me somehow, but definitely through Pennock is the best option.
Thank you so much for your time today, Cassidy.
Hey, thank you so much.